Check. Hey guys, it's Ted with the OmahaREIA here, and I just want to go over some of the sponsors we have before we get the day going. But right over here we have Ram. He is with JM Real Estate Capital, been a sponsor of us for, 4 years now? Also sponsors our podcast called REIA Radio. Oh, you rock, and Old Fashions on cue. Thank you, Marty Cromwell. But yes, Ram, we tell us a little bit about you guys, what you do, and again, we'll get into drink sponsorships later.
Hey everybody, so my name is Ram. I help real estate investors get funding for their real estate projects. We do ground up construction, DSCR loans, fix and flip loans, and I'm also a loan officer with American Financial Network. So full-fledged loans, commercial and residential.
Okay, so if I find a property right now, I need to get a deal going, and or if I find an apartment complex, or I find some land, I want to do some development. Or even if I want to fund a business. You guys do all that, correct?
Yeah, so what I recommend is you visit our website, jmrecapital.com, before you even make an offer. So that way you will see if we're going to be able to lend on it. You're going to know what terms we have, how much money you're going to need for closing. And also, like Ted said, we do unsecured business lines of credit. So, for instance, if people are looking for that 100% financing, we can do unsecured business lines of credit for about $150,000 to $600,000. You can use that as a down payment for your fix and flip loans and your DSCR loans.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to go over Albert's Flooring here in a minute because he is our official sponsor tonight. Is Caden here? He's hiding from us, huh? Okay, so we'll come back to Caden, but Swift Public Adjusters is here tonight. If you have a potential hail claim, if you're dealing with something that's above and beyond when it comes to insurance, you need a public adjuster. I'm going to give you an example of a building I'm personally dealing with right now. I had a fire in one of my apartments, and that city condemned the whole property, but the insurance company only wanted me to pay me $18,000, but the bid for repair was $300,000. That's when you need a public adjuster. So that's what these guys do. They fight for your behalf. They take a percentage of that, but they fight on your behalf, and these guys don't gouge you. They do a really good job. They have their own attorneys. They have their own specialists. They're going to go fight on your behalf. So when Caden comes, you just say, I spoke on his behalf, right? So, okay, over here, Michael, tell us about the books, what to expect. And I know you're going to speak all about this, but what are we doing over here?
At the end of the night, I'm going to sign and give away 25 books. So if any of you guys want a book, come up and see me. The books are free. They're normally $22 on Amazon. What I would ask is if you do get a free book, that you take the $20 that you would have paid me and donate it to some cause that you really are passionate about, or pay the staff here, or do something nice for somebody else. Just pay it forward, okay?
Dude, that's huge. I love everything that you and your family do. Okay, well, there is so many new faces I see here today. Just for my sake, if you've never attended an event, can you raise your hand just so I can see it? Holy moly. Michael, holy shit. We usually don't get that many new people in here. So normally I do this at the end, and I know that the people have been here before, but I think this is really important, especially just right now. But it's all about knowing the people around you and getting to know people that you want to talk to, right? So raise your hands in this room. I'll include myself in this. If you have any multifamilies in your portfolio right now. Is anybody doing multifamily? Okay. Where's our single family investors? Anybody has single families? Because look around, guys. If you want to do this, you need to know who's next to you. Who has trailer homes? I didn't say trailer parks. See that, Dunless? Trailer homes. Anybody do trailer homes? I don't. Mobile home parks. Gosh, I got so many different words for that. What about storage units? Anybody doing storage units? See a couple hands. Of course, you guys raise your hands. That's all you focus on, right? Commercial property owners. Anybody doing commercial property that's like besides multifamily, like strip malls, whatnot? Okay. And where's our contractors? Any contractors? No contractors in the house. Albert's Flooring's raising his hand. Yeah. There we go. And we're contractors that are looking for business. Yeah. Okay. Good. Out-of-state investing. Anybody doing out-of-state investing? See a couple hands. Where's our wholesalers? Anybody know, that's willing to say they're a wholesaler? I said, well, I like this. And anybody doing rehabs and flipping? And anybody doing short-term rentals? What about midterm rentals? Anybody doing midterms? And any real estate syndications that you guys are overseeing? Man, I got so many good ones in here. Hard money lenders? Any hard money lenders or private money lenders in the room? See a couple. What about anybody doing crowdfunding? That's always an interesting one. Land developers? What about real estate attorneys? Any real estate attorneys in the room? Property managers? See a couple. Bree and Tim. Anybody that has experience with 1031 exchanges? He's got a good group in here tonight. And anybody doing note investing? What about anybody, a real estate coach in the room? So yeah, kind of getting, and anybody do hotels? Any hotel investors? I see 2 hands in there. Frank came all the way down from Denver, Colorado, and so that's why I had to bring that up too. So the point of that is, see who's not, you're here, you want to get involved, you don't know who to talk to. Hopefully you saw something that was mentioned that's something you want to get involved with. Like I personally want to get more involved with storage units, so I know I want to talk to these 2 guys, which I do, because I'm like, hey, I want to teach, I want to be your shadow, and maybe I can provide you some value, and then it goes both ways, right? And like, hey, if, you know, I got this on the side, and maybe I can do a transaction for you, and if I do that, I'll do it for no fees just to learn what you do. I mean, that's just an example. You know, so take advantage of what you can provide somebody so that you can learn and then grow yourself. So, got agents. Oh yeah, any real estate investor agents in the room? That's all? It's usually half the room, so thank you. Okay, so anyway, I know that we usually do that at the end. I appreciate you guys that, but there's so many new hands in here, so thank you for checking out. Are you guys, everybody with their hands up, are you guys just here because you personally know Michael Kramer and you're supporting him? Yeah, I figure that. Maybe you're just all family? The whole family's here. Oh, hey, so my name's Ted. I own and operate with my wife the Omaha Real Estate Investment Association. This association has been around since 2007. I am the 3rd operator of this group. We took over in June of 2020 officially. We had 74 members when we started. We have close to 450 members now, representing over 30,000 rental units. We have over 50 sponsors that provide discounts back to you guys. So my goal here was, by you coming to this event, maybe you're new in investing and you're trying to get into this, you can use our sponsorships that we have and our support group that we have, so you have everybody you need in your life to get your business up and running. I think that these people are all the best in the industry, and that's why I personally use them. I use them in my own business, but you're gonna find that there's people that you connect with, hopefully in this room, that's better for you in that specific field. But everybody you need, if it's an electrician or insurance guy or wood floor guy, whatever you need, we have it so you can get your business up and running. With that being said, I just want to go over some new and renewed sponsorships that we have. We just signed Los Hills Electric, Ryan Stuck. So it's our first electrical sponsor, which I've been searching for electrical, drywall, and plumbing. So those are the ones I feel like we really have been missing. So if you know any of the other 2, please let me know. But they're providing a 10% discount, and they are looking for business right now. They just separated from Miller Electric. They're master in their craft, and they've been doing it for a long time, and they want to work with investors. Also, Ready Money, who actually is Debashish Gosh. He owns Stereo West, a whole bunch of other companies, and his business partner, Curdy, he owns this hotel and a whole bunch of other hotels. They started their own hard money company. They just signed up for a silver sponsorship. Renewed sponsors, Thrasher Basements, Tom Bilyeu, offering a $250 discount off anything. Tom's cool because he started the company with the Thrashers, and what he does is he works specifically with real estate investors, and if you got a property you want checked out, he will come out there for no charge, check it out, and give you a no bullshit bid. He won't add on the 3 other walls for embracing. Has anybody used Tom to back up what I'm saying? Okay. So Marty McGuire, Blackstone Insurance, our very first sponsor, just renewed as a gold sponsor. Thank you, Marty. He specializes in commercial insurance. Midwest Removal Renewed, Joe Manzari, 10% discount. You need a rubbish. I worked with clients that needed places cleared out. I bought houses that need cleared out. Joe's come in and cleared it out in minutes. His crew's awesome. A1 Kitchen and Bath just renewed. Granite countertops, flooring, tile. They do a whole bunch of stuff. 10% discount they're giving you. And then Phoenix Restoration just renewed also. Jenny Castaneda, if you have a property where you had flood damage, kind of like a Paul Davis, but more of a local feel, 10% discount from them also. So can we get a round of applause to all the sponsors that help us out? So speaking of the sponsors, I do want to invite Johnny Albers up here. John is the owner of Albers Flooring. Full disclosure, he is my little brother that's taller than me. John has created a couple businesses now. John, what are you, 26 now? 27? Yeah, okay. And so John started this company about 4 or 5 years ago. And it started off, I believe, by one of my condemned houses I bought. And you're like, hey, I can do those floors. And he did a great job, and he's like, I kind of like this. And he had a little race car shop at a house he bought, building custom BMWs and whatnot. And he's like, this is way more lucrative and easy. So John has been sponsoring us for the last few years, and hopefully getting quite a bit of business out of this. But John, can you come talk about your company and the services you offer? And thank you for being a sponsor tonight.
As always, thank you, Ted, for having me here and letting me be a sponsor of this awesome organization that you've put together. And it's great to see so many new faces here tonight. I love to see that this organization keeps growing. And Ted was right. You know, I did start, I do have a few businesses. I started in automotive, kind of got sick of that, transitioned to flooring, mainly by buying a house that had hardwood floors, refinished them myself. Ted said, hey, those look pretty good. You want to do one of my flips? It's like, okay, sure. And then some other people saw that and said, hey, those look pretty good. You want to do one of my flips? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I kept saying sure until this hobby kind of got out of control and turned into a business. But I really do enjoy it. And for those who don't know, we've been OmahaREIA's sponsor for 4 years now, and we offer a 10% discount to all of our members for all of our services, such as floor cleaning, buff and coating of your hardwood floors, refinishing, installation, and more. The only thing flooring-wise that I do not do would be tile and carpet. One thing I am excited, and I do want to announce this here, I am working on a new package exclusively for REIA members, that being a $2.50 refinish rate. I don't know if you guys have shopped around, but that's quite low, especially for the quality that we're going to give you. We're still using all my same equipment that we use in all of our high-end jobs, and we've done everything from $3 or $4 million houses in the sanctuary all the way down to houses in North Omaha. I can guarantee you that we'll provide a phenomenal service for you guys, and something that will stand the test of time. And that's really all I have to say about that. Well, thank you guys for coming, and my name is John Albers, and I own Albers Flooring. Please come on over and ask some questions that you may have, and I'd be happy to answer them.
So thank you for that. Also, our drink sponsor tonight is JM Real Estate Capital. What that means is that after the event, we find that the best networking always happens when we're drinking and having a good time. And as we go to the lobby over there, 8:30 till about 10, that first round of drinks is going to be taken care of by JM. Rom's going to be down there and also talk. And then if he's going to be doing some book giveaways also, as he does every month. So what's the book tonight? Power of No? Now. I like the Power of No better. But put your card in there, and we'll do a drawing at the end for that book too, right? Or do you want to do it at the bar? So there's blank cards on the table. If you don't have a card, just put your name on it, and we'll do a drawing here at the end. So thank you for doing that. Appreciate it. couple upcoming events. I even brought my flyers. I got a couple things we're still finalizing, but the big things I want to cover is every third Friday we have a luncheon event, and that is at the Railcar Cafe right off 144th and Blondo. It's 11:30 to 1. Don't need to be a member to come. Anybody's welcome. The room holds about 45 people, and that's max. So first come, first serve. But we know that most of us have hour breaks that still have W-2s. So we know that room fills up usually about 11:45. But we really want you to come check it out. Everybody gets a chance to speak. There's no presenter. The worst thing you got to deal with is me telling you about upcoming events, and then I pass on the mic. And then you get the mic, and you're like, hey, my name's Ted. This is my success for the month. And we want to hear something about your personal life and your work life. And this is what I'm looking for in my business. And so it's all about us and meeting each other. Please check it out. If you give anybody attend our networking luncheon, and we keep your hand up if you plan on attending again. That's something right there. So we have a good time. So that is coming up. Also, this is kind of an edit as of today, and I definitely went out here. But Wednesday, not Tuesday, November 6th, we got David Dodge speaking. Now, normally it's always on first Tuesdays, right? But that's election day. And I figured none of you guys would show up. And so we just moved it. I talked to David. It's all good. He still says that Jeff Cohn, Clint Bartlett, Owen Dashner, and who else did he say? He needs to come to lunch with him. So he's delaying his flight to do lunch with you guys, and that was contingency for him coming. So I got you guys on a group text. But David's wrote 3 books on real estate. He has his own classes he does. I don't remember what podcast episode he was on, but it was I always laugh. It was the first time Owen didn't talk, because literally he has a crazy story. It was like, you remember this, right? He was like 22 years old, and I knew a backstory from hearing him speak at talking to Jeff Cohn, and he goes, yeah, I had a jet, and I had my license, and I was like running marijuana for the mafia, and then got busted by the FBI. And then after that, he turned his life around, became a successful real estate investor. He's the biggest real estate wholesaler in the state of Missouri. He's just super successful, and he's an amazing speaker, and I think you're going to love him. But if you're interested in wholesaling, I know there's a lot of legality of wholesaling, but if you're interested in it, this would be a great event to attend. But that'll be Wednesday, November 6th. Please mark it for that. Couple things that I want to talk about too is our podcast. I mentioned it a couple times. It's called OmahaREIA Radio. Earlier this year, we're ranked in the top 2.5% of all podcasts in the world. There's a lot of podcasts in the world, just so you guys know. But that's thanks to Dennis at DB Video and his team, and Aiden back there, which helps us out with that. We now do a Monday podcast, which is more just Owen and I shooting the breeze. And then we cut out all that BS, and then on Wednesday, that's just the interview. If you guys love it, please leave us a review, share it with a friend. That's the biggest, it means the most for us. We've actually had almost double the views that we've ever had this week, so we appreciate that. But by liking, subscribing, and leaving those reviews, other people will find us, and that's how the algorithms work. We're also on YouTube, and we're on Rumble. And last week we surprised Nate Eccles. If you guys know Nate Eccles, he has his daughter, Riley. She's like 17 and just turned 18 Sunday. And so we like, hey, Riley, get on the podcast. Don't tell your dad. So I guess they're sitting at the dinner room table. That podcast comes on, and he's like, what are you doing hanging out with Owen and Ted? But great podcast. She did her first flip at 16. She's been on national stages. She was a keynote speaker like this at the age of 12. Step that up, Michael Kramer. Yeah, so fun. So this week we have our real estate rundown, and then we have Luke Schollmeyer on episode 146. And if you guys know Luke, he was a really hard person to get on the podcast. So definitely check that out. But I am talking too much, so without further ado, I'm going to get into my introduction. Tonight we have a very special guest here in Omaha's real estate community, Michael Kramer. Now Michael and I go back to days at Thrasher Basements, though I'm pretty sure he doesn't quite remember me from there. That's actually a true statement. We chalk that up to him managing 10 companies and over 400 properties. It's hard to keep track of everything. Oh, and did I mention that he works with 12 family members? Imagine family reunions must double down as board meetings at your guys' house, huh? And Michael's journey is nothing short of incredible. From being featured in episode 128 of REIA Radio, his life, everything was completed on REIA Radio. But to recently receiving a Cooley Award for his chapter in Amazon bestseller, Empathetic Leadership, How to Build Trust and Drive Results, with co-authored by Chris Voss. And Chris Voss is actually one of my top 3 books I've ever read, and hopefully you can help me get him on the podcast too. We'd love that, and have you both on there. That'd be even funner. He was an FBI negotiator, the top FBI negotiator, and he wrote a book called Never Split the Difference. Speaking of Chris, Michael's also working with a show called That's Right. And so, he's got some real negotiating skills to share with us tonight. But tonight, it's called 20 Key Questions to Rapidly Scale Your Business with Michael Kramer. Without any further ado, can you give the loudest loud applause for Michael Kramer?
Thank you, Ted. Thank you. Appreciate it. And can we all give Ted a round of applause for setting this up? It's a lot of work.
Hey, tonight when you guys come, we have a microphone right there in the middle, and we have a camera on it. Everything we're doing tonight is so that it's live streamed, but also so Michael can use this footage. So it means so much to us if you have questions, if you can come up to the mic. If you're not capable to stand and get it, raise your hand. I'll come up to the mic as questions get asked later.
Ted, I forgot to figure out how to turn my PowerPoint on. Okay, somebody else got it. So what I want you guys to do is imagine tonight you go home to bed, and when you wake up in the morning, you find yourself in this car. To your right and to your left, you see cornfields. It kind of looks familiar, doesn't it? Does anybody recognize where this is, by the way? Any ideas? I would call it Nebraska, right? I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. I just wondered if I took a picture of somebody's farm. But you wake up and you're in the car. You look to your right and you see your spouse. You look in the rearview mirror and you see your family. And the car's not moving, okay? You're excited. You can feel the excitement in the car because your family's excited. You hear them chattering. Somebody says, let's go. Where are you going? Any ideas? Anywhere. So the possibilities are endless, right? Is there some anxiety in that statement? Where are we going? Like you got the whole family in the car. You're feeling excited, but you don't know where you're going. You don't even see really any landmarks. It looks like every other cornfield in the state of Nebraska, right? Maybe out west with the hills in the back. How crazy is it to get in a car in the middle of a road with cornfields and no landmarks around and say, let's go? What do you need? What's missing? This isn't a trick. Destination, directions. What else? A plan. Isn't that so true? So what are you going to reach for? You're going to try to find your phone? Well, you don't have your phone. You hit the button on the dash, there's no GPS. How crazy is it to say, I'm going to get in a car with my family in the middle of nowhere with no road marks, or landmarks, and try to go somewhere? You can go anywhere, right? The possibilities are endless. I like that optimism from whoever said that. But for most of us, it creates this anxiety and this stress. I want to go somewhere, but I don't know where I'm going. The clicker did work at the beginning. I tested it. And now it's not going to work. So, sort of a rhetorical question, but is it better to travel with a map? Do you guys enjoy traveling? Raise your hand if you enjoy traveling more with a map. Why do you like the map? What is it about the map that gives you comfort? You know where you're going? Yep. What else? I'm sorry? Gives you options. You can see the whole picture, right? You can kind of figure out, which route do I want to take? You can pick the fastest route, right? How many times on your GPS do you click that button? Give me there right now, right? And you can see where the cops are if you have Waze, right? I love that app. Thanks to Phil, wherever Phil's at. So if you're thinking about real estate as part of your journey, how many of you guys in here already own real estate? The vast majority of you guys from what I saw earlier. Anybody that's aspiring to be a real estate investor that doesn't quite yet? That's great. You're in the right room. Ted, I know you own real estate. You can't raise your hand for that. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So if real estate is part of your journey, my encouragement for you guys tonight is to find a map. Find somebody that's already doing it and find a way to copy what they do. One of my favorite quotes from a gentleman called Zig Ziglar, who's died several years ago, is, if you want to be successful, do what successful people do, right? So define your success and copy what they do. The 3 steps I heard you guys all say when I said, what do you do with the map? Number 1 is you're going to choose your destination, right? What good is the map if you don't decide where you want to go? I've got this map and atlas of the world. You can study it, you can see all the options, but if you don't pick a spot, what value is the map? The second is going to be to choose your vehicle. If it's real estate, we'll pick your asset type. Then the third is chart your course. What's the fastest route, right? What's the most scenic route? You get to decide. You're the architect, so you can have some fun with it. So for those of you that do not know me, I see a lot of friendly faces in the room, so thanks for all my friends and 12 family members that came. All the new faces. My name is Michael Kramer. I'm married. I've got 4 children. I've got 4 grandchildren. They're not all in that picture. My daughter, Mary Ellen Holden, not the one strapped on. She just had a baby girl. So I got 3 grandsons and a granddaughter, which is pretty cool. My beautiful wife, Lucy, and business partners here. She really runs the business. Real estate for me is a new journey, you guys. I have bought and sold 7 businesses over the last 20 years, but I didn't buy my first investment property until 2019. Today, I have 400 cash flowing rentals, mostly in the Omaha-Lincoln area, that are owned with my family, no outside money. And we've got another approximately 1,000 units that are owned with investors. So my background is really in building businesses. That's really my expertise, and it's what I love doing. And I took that experience over those years, the patterns that I saw, and applied it to real estate. And that's how I scaled the business as quickly as I did, and as effectively as I have, because I saw these patterns and I repeated them in the real estate business. Where a lot of you folks, and I don't need to see your hand, but I'm guessing some of you folks in the room will say, well, I want to get into real estate, but I don't really know what my destination is. I don't really know what the path is that I want to take. And I want to hopefully help you guys come up with a framework, borrow the one I've used, and apply it to your business so you can scale if you choose to, okay? Some of you are probably thinking, do I even want to scale my business, right? I know a lot of folks who say, I'd rather have a lifestyle business. I want to get to a certain size and I want to have the ultimate freedom. Nothing wrong with that. I have 0 issues with any of that. If you want to get to 4 properties and take some of the pressure off of your W-2 or add some extra income, that's great. I have 0 issue with that. For me, I'm an all or nothing guy. And so I just heard this from Matt Rule in one of his last pressers. He said, only take advice from people you trade places with, and only accept criticism from those you take advice from. Anybody ever heard that before? I love that advice. So if I share this stuff with you guys tonight and you don't like it, that's okay. There's another map out there. So this isn't a do what Mike does talk. This is a find a map talk. I don't care whose map you follow, but I want you to have one so that you guys can pursue your dreams. I happen to be an all-in guy. So for the rest of our talk, these are the things I want to go over. We're going to start with some of this stuff is familiar. You guys have seen it. The reason it's up here again is as a reminder. Many of you guys will have already got your why figured out. Some of you don't. That's where I would suggest you start. We're going to then talk about choosing your vehicle, a 9-part framework, the 23 questions, which was the title of my talk, right? I'm going to give you the questions you ask on how you scale your business. I'm going to introduce you to somebody called John Smith. I'm going to introduce you to somebody else that I call Eric. And we're going to talk at the end about our unfair advantage. So without further ado, let's dig into this. Have you guys read, show of hands, Start With Why? So several of you in the room have not read Start With Why. The important part of starting with why is is in the real estate journey, is it fair to say, let me change that. In the journey of entrepreneurship, which includes real estate, is it fair to say that it's not straight up and to the right? Has anybody had an experience that's straight up and to the right? No bumps, no challenges? Raise your hand if you've had your share of challenges along the way. Okay, every hand is up, right? That's the journey. Lots of bumps and bruises along the way. So what do you go to when you're in that moment of, why am I in this business? Why in the heck did I start this thing? Because there's gonna be a lot of time where you're thinking to your, like, laying in bed for me, the still quiet moments of like, am I good enough? Do I have what it takes? Can I really push through this challenge? It comes back to the why for me. And I can get into that in another time, in another talk, but my why is a very personal talk. I would just encourage you guys to find your why. A hint for those of you that don't have your why, ask yourselves the question, why am I doing this? And then I want you to ask why 5 to 7 more times. It's not a perfect science. Why am I doing this? Well, because I want to create generational wealth. Why? Why do you want to create generational wealth? Well, because it'll set my family up for success. Well, why is that important to you? And get down to whatever it is that truly resonates in your heart that says, that's my why. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning, okay? Because in those moments where it's hard, you're gonna have to come back to that why. And without that why, you can end up as sort of this rudderless ship. So I'm not gonna get into all the details of how to do that, but the hint would be go 5 to 7 levels deep, okay? Next is to choose your vehicle. Everything that we've done has been residential BRRRR strategy. Why? Well, for me, it ties back to this hint, which is building on previous experience. I'm a systems and process guy. I'm a licensed general contractor. I like to build systems and processes. I like to build things with my hands. So the BRRRR strategy fit my experience. I also like other things, like I can use other people's money. I like the fact that there's opportunity for infinite returns, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever that is for you, I'm sort of just touching on these two tonight because those first two are more personal work, okay? I just encourage you to go and do that personal work. Determine whatever it is your vehicle's gonna be. Some might be self-storage, others might be mobile home parks. Is that appropriate to say it that way? Like, I wanna be politically correct. Okay. Trailer parks. No, sorry. So whatever it is, I want you to pick the vehicle. Now, I'm gonna get into now some of the sort of the meat of this for you guys. And I'm gonna give you the opportunity, if you wanna write the stuff down, you can, or if you want to contact me later, I'll give you all these slides. This framework is the framework that I've used to build every business. It's a 9-part framework, and out of this framework come the 23 questions, okay? So you start with the framework. It does not matter the business, you guys. Coca-Cola or John's Trash Service and every business in between has these critical functions to it. Not everybody in this room addresses all of these functions. Sometimes you start a business and you say, I'm gonna do plumbing work. And so you start working on, you're fixing the toilet and your phone rings and you realize you don't have any customer service because your hands are in the toilet, you can't answer the phone, right? Your business requires customer service, but you didn't think about it and have a plan for it. Fair enough? Sales, marketing, so the 7 critical functions are leadership, everything above the ground, okay? Leadership, marketing, sales, operations, accounting. The window says innovation, and the door says customer service. If you write this framework out at a minimum and say, how do I address these things in my business? You'll be well on your way to having a framework that you can run with. Below that, I think, is the most important part, talking about Thrasher, the foundations, the footings. It's what you believe in. My personal belief, I'm a steward. I don't own what I have. God owns everything. Okay, that's my belief. You get to pick your own. Then we have operating principles. This is the strength of our business. This is what our business is built on. So for us, we're strengths focused. We're a results only work environment. We exercise extreme ownership. We're systems based. We're others focused, and we bring the last 10%. That's how we guide ourselves. That's how we conduct ourselves when we do business. Okay? And all of that's below the surface. When you deal with us, you're not even going to really know that stuff exists. But it's what we stand on. It's who we are. Okay? If you have your beliefs and you have your guiding principles outlined, now you can build something. Very few people really understand what they are. They probably know, like, I know you got to tell the truth, right? I know you got to be nice to people. I know you got to do what you say you're going to do. Is that fair? Like, there's some basic things that we all kind of know. But if you're going to scale a business, how do you know that the people who you're scaling with are going to understand what that is, and secondly, buy into it? If you don't write it down, how do you share it? You just yell at them, right? I told you to tell the truth. I told you to be on time, right? And you become this dictator, micromanager, screamer that nobody wants to be. But if you write it down and you share it with your team, now it becomes something that it can be resonant with an audience and share it with them, and they say, hey, he's my kind of people. Or you can say, no way, I don't want to deal with that. Regardless, it becomes a filter. And that's what you're going to need as you're growing, because you're going to grow beyond yourself real quick. Which, by the way, if there's some solopreneurs in here, you basically have 7 jobs. I don't know if that sinks in with any of you guys, but as a solopreneur, you have 7 jobs. And it's going to get even more complicated here in just a minute when we start asking the questions, okay? The good news is that if you have this framework in place, you can first understand it, put your name in the boxes that you own, and then start to find people to fill those other shoes. Find the who's that are not you, okay? So here's the 23 questions. It's very simple. The first column is the 7 functions, 7 critical functions of your business. Write them down. Your first column is who's going to do that job. And by who's going to do the job, it's who's going to own it. Okay, in our business, we say there's ownership and support, right? So who's going to own marketing? They might have some support people, but who's going to own it? Then it's sales. Just go down the list. Who's going to own it? Put the names in. Maybe every name in that box, or the name in every box is Mike. That's okay. That's okay. For now. If you want to scale, that's going to have to change, because you don't want, 24 jobs. You want to have fewer jobs. You want to distill this down to, what energizes and excites you and what it is that motivates you. But to start with, you got to dump it all out. The second column is going to be what is it that person does. Those are job descriptions. So easy. How many of you guys have done an org chart before? Okay, it's one of the most powerful tools that you can give yourself as a gift and to give to anybody you bring into your organization. Because now it's written down on a piece of paper to say, here's all of the roles, here's all the people that we need. I fill all these boxes, and I want to get out of these boxes. So anybody in this room that want to take this job from me, come on and take it. And if you know somebody that can do this job, and I'm blocking us, because most of the time, you guys, the entrepreneur is the one that impedes the growth. That might not seem right, because we're oftentimes the one that are out in front, right, running and pushing. But we don't run and push in a way that's organized or structured. And nobody can come alongside us and help us. And so we end up becoming alone in this journey. We run through people because they don't get what we do. Does this resonate with anybody? Has anybody ever dealt with this before? Or is it just me? I'm the one that's made all these mistakes, right? So you got the org chart and the job description. You're well on your way. What I want to talk mostly about tonight is the how. And the how is what I'm going to call, in this room, we don't publicly call it the unfair advantage because it sounds a little crude. But in this room, I'm going to call it the unfair advantage because I want to have an unfair advantage over my competition. Does anybody in here want to have an unfair advantage? Something that says I stand out from everybody else at a level that's unfair. I'm gonna kick butt because nobody can compete with me. That's not ego. It's a plan. And I'm going to give you guys the plan on how you can do it for yourself. Okay? And the 23 questions, by the way, just for those over there counting these boxes, because there's some accountants in here. I met one earlier. The 7 times 3 is 21, plus your operating principles and your beliefs. So there's 23 questions you got to ask and answer so that you have this framework. Okay, so I mentioned the how is the most important part. It's truly what sets us apart. Does anybody know what a USP is? What is it? Excellent. Excellent. Unique selling proposition. What was somebody else mentioned something different? We're all good with that definition? I'm good with it. I don't use a USP. And I'll explain to you why. Another name for this might be a standard. I'm a big Matt Rule fan. And when he talks about standards, dude, I just get fired up. Because he's like, this is who we are. I don't care who we're playing. I care how we show up. And I love that. The standard and a USP are awesome. If you want to stop there, you're well on your way, and you're going to be way ahead of your competition. If you want an unfair advantage, you have to change your perspective. Okay? And this is where the power is. John Smith versus me. In other words, is it my perspective? Am I the one setting the standards? Am I the one determining what sets us apart? Or is John Smith? Well, who the heck is John Smith? And why is he part of this conversation? Nobody cares about John Smith. Well, here's a little saying, one of my favorites. Oops. Now my computer's not working. Has anybody heard this saying before? If you want to know why John Smith buys what John Smith buys, you need to see the world through John Smith's eyes. Is that a new saying for anybody in here? Brand new? This saying is absolute gold. The reason it's gold, I didn't come up with it. By the way, nothing I'm sharing with you guys is original content. This is all borrowed stuff. But I'm a collector of ideas, and when I see an idea that resonates with me, I run with it. John Smith is whoever's trading their hard-earned money with you for whatever product and service that you're offering. So who's your John Smith? If I want to know why John Smith is going to trade his hard-earned money to buy my product, I need to know what's in John Smith's head. That's the difference between creating an unfair advantage and a USP. A USP says, I'm going to answer the phone on the first ring. I'm going to have a receptionist that's there from 8 to 5, and everybody else has, just at noon. And I'm going to come up with this list of things that set me apart, right? Or I'm going to create a standard, like, here's the things that we're going to do. Those are great. The difference is if you go to what John Smith's seeing, now your perspective changes. Well, how do you get to John Smith's perspective? The question that I want to have you guys think about, and this is maybe going to feel a little uncomfortable, okay? I want you guys to be thinking about not just your customer. I want you to ask yourself the question, what do I want my customer to feel? Why does it matter what they feel? People buy with emotion. That's great. What else? Why does it matter what John Smith feels? Have you ever heard this saying? I'm sorry, go ahead, please. I'm sorry. It's what's important to him. That's excellent. They want to be heard. Excellent. You guys are on it. It could be different than your idea. Brilliant. They could experience buyer's remorse if you're not paying attention to what they're wanting, right? Excellent. What is their why? What's driving them? This is a millimeter shift, you guys, in thinking from I'm going to change things so that I stand out and I'm unique. And I want to change to have a standard to I want to know what the heck John Smith wants. How hard would it be to deliver to John Smith what he wants if he told you what he wanted? How hard would that be? John Smith says, I want cherry Kool-Aid. How hard would it be to deliver him cherry Kool-Aid? Pretty easy. Well, why aren't we asking John Smith? So what do I want John Smith to feel? All of the things you said, heard, understood. For me, I want John Smith to feel foolish. That feels a little uncomfortable. Why do I want my customer to feel foolish? Well, here's the catch. I want him to feel foolish for considering doing business with anyone else, regardless of the price. When John Smith comes to me, I want him to say, I don't care what Mike's charging. I don't care what it costs to do business with Mike. Because Mike gets me, he understands me, and he's delivering for me what I want. If you can do that, does that set you apart in John Smith's mind? How is that different than a standard? How is that different than a USP? Sort of a rhetorical question by now, but you guys getting this? Can I get an amen? I'm not preaching too much, am I? So how do you do this? This is really the secret sauce, you guys. And again, this is not me. How about the blue ocean strategy? Anybody read that book? Anybody in this room that owns a business, that is an absolute must read. Because it helps you get in the head of John Smith. If you want to have a unique selling proposition on steroids, which you can then call an unfair advantage, which I don't recommend you publish, like I don't market that. I'll show you exactly how we market it here in a minute. But if you want to ramp up your differentiation, talk to John Smith. How do we make him feel foolish for considering anyone else regardless of price? Well, let's go talk to John. There's really simple questions to ask John. John, what do you love about your current process? What is it that you hate about the process? What pain points are you feeling? And John, if you had a magic wand and you could create the perfect process, what would it look like? Okay? This is where ERIC comes in. It's an acronym for eliminate, reduce, increase, and create. That all came from the Blue Ocean strategy. And the questions, the right side, that's all out of Blue Ocean. Excellent book. What must be eliminated, which can also make the customer's lives easier? What are the significant factors that need to be improved within the market? What are we going to reduce? What are the results of competing with other companies, and what can be reduced? And what can be created, something new? If you take the time and go through this exercise, you guys, and you ask your John Smith, what does he love? What does he hate? What pain is he feeling? And if you had the magic wand, you can then start to craft the things that you want to eliminate, increase, reduce, or create. Does that make sense? If you craft that, and it's with John Smith's voice in mind, how likely are you to deliver something that's different in John Smith's eyes? Pretty good odds, right? So this is a small shift from, I have an idea of how I want to make this business great. I'm the smartest guy on the planet. I know how to run a business. I built 7 of them. I can do this. I don't need to talk to John. I've talked to John before. I got this. To saying, I'm going to humbly submit to the fact that I don't know everything, and John Smith does, because he's the golden rule. The man with the gold makes the rules, right? John Smith has the money. I want to know what's in his head. I want to know what's in his heart. I want to know what's driving this guy to make a buying decision. And then I want to craft my offering to be custom tailored to what it is that he's looking for. And if I can do that, is it possible that I can have John Smith feel foolish for considering someone else, regardless of price? Has anybody in here ever done business with somebody that they say, that's my person? Raise your hand if you felt that. Is it because of what they've done? Is it because of what they've said? Or is it because of what they've made you feel? Any idea? What they make you feel. Why is that? Why isn't it because they have a slick pitch? Connection, relationship, trust. Why isn't it because they've got a better product? Does that really, let's just be honest with ourselves, you guys. Like that, yes, it matters. Price does matter. Quality of product does matter. But what matters more than anything else, what trumps both of those, is an understanding of your customer at a level that they say, Mike gets me. And if you can get your customer to say Mike gets me, they're going to say, Mike's your guy. Mike's my guy. And I'm not going to sell my property to anybody else until I've talked to Mike. I'm not going to invest my money in any other syndication until I've talked to Mike. I'm not going to send a deal that I have a pocket listing to anyone else until I've at least had Mike say no. That's what we're striving for, okay? And this framework, you guys, you apply it to your business, you're going to get a similar result, okay? There's a risk you're going to have to scale. You're going to end up building a big business because these are all tools that I've used multiple times to scale and scale quickly. So what I call our unfair advantage at our company's called Freed by Real Estate. I call this the Freed by Real Estate way. And there's 3 John Smiths in my world. I have a broker who is the connection to the seller. I have a seller who's the guy that's going to decide who's going to win the deal. And I have investors who are giving me their capital to invest in a deal. And so I go to all 3 of those and I ask the question, what do you love, what do you hate, what's your magic wand? And what we came up with was, this is our unfair advantage, which is the Freed by Real Estate way. So I go to a broker and say, I'm going to pay you guaranteed commission. I'm going to allow you to invest in a deal alongside us. And I'm going to train you exactly on what our buy box is. So when you bring us a deal, there's no mystery about whether or not this deal fits for us. How does that and why would that matter? Why does that matter? How many times are brokers marginalized, put into this box of it's purely a transaction, reduced to you don't bring any value, and you know what that does in them? It says, I'm concerned about getting paid. I'm concerned about getting cut out. Have you guys ever heard of any of this before? Like there's a real fear there. And what they do is instead of being collaborative, instead of wanting to work with you, they try to control the situation because they're scared. They don't trust you. And they think, you're not talking to my seller, everything's got to go through me. They become a control freak because they're trying to protect themselves. But if I can say, listen, take the money off the table, I'll guarantee that you get paid. I'm going to give you the exact buy box and exactly the asset class I'm looking for. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to get off this hamster wheel of just chasing commission, because if you like the deal as much as I do, I'm going to allow you to invest in it with me. That changes the relationship that I have with that broker. Is that fair? Now we go to the sellers. I won't buy a deal unless I can talk directly to the seller, which sometimes brokers hate. But if I built that trust relationship with the broker, and they understand who we are and what we're about, they appreciate the collaborative approach. They appreciate, and by the way, when you're buying a large asset, what makes a large, for a value-add investor, somebody who's a Burr investor, what kind of assets am I looking for? Any ideas? So what does that mean? Yes, but what is a value-add asset? Something that needs work, physically. What else? What constitutes a value-add? Tenant problems, right? So if you're buying an asset that's got multiple tenants, odds are there's a staff that have been running this, right? There's probably property management, there's probably maintenance, there's probably somebody doing bookkeeping and accounting. And if I'm gonna take investor money and I'm gonna put it into a deal, I darn well better know exactly what that asset is and how I'm gonna add value to it. So if I rely on a broker only who's naturally inclined to be scared and protective because it's a transactional space, and I say, I'm going to trust you to get this done, how do I in good faith go to my investors and say, I have vetted this deal fully, I know exactly how to raise the value of this property because I understand the tenant issues, I haven't talked to the tenants, I understand the management issue, I haven't talked to the management, I understand the seller's motivation, I haven't talked to the seller. So we take a different approach, and that's what makes sellers feel foolish for considering selling to somebody else until they've talked to us. And the last is our investors. I'm a general contractor, as I mentioned. We have our own property management. Why does that matter? Well, if I'm investing in a deal and I own the construction company, who's the guy who's pouring the concrete on site? Who's the guy who's putting the roof on it? Who's the guy who's doing the bath and kitchen remodel? The guy that owns the property. Who cares more than an owner? Right? So I can go to an investor and say, I own the property and I own the construction company. I'm going to be NOI obsessed. I'm making sure that every dollar that goes into this place is going to get me a return. I'm going to make sure that the quality of the repair is done. I'm going to make sure that it's done on time. I'm not going to sub it out and trust another guy to go do this. Same with property management. The biggest challenge in some of these larger assets is the tenant base is not cared for to our standard. And that's the biggest opportunity for us to improve it. There's no way in heck that I'm going to sub that out to somebody who's no disrespect to the third-party managers. We make all the same mistakes you guys do. The difference is that I also own it. I also own the property. So when there's a huge value add and there's a bunch of vacancy and there's a bunch of headaches along the way, I have more staying power to ride that problem through to the end because I get the upside. And if you have a bunch of vacancy as a property manager and you're paid on collected rents, your pay just gets dropped every time I have a vacancy. You don't want to manage through a big rehab. So again, this is add all of these 9 little things up to those 3 audiences, and that becomes what we call our unfair advantage. And it's with the goal, and we're always listening. It's not perfect. It's a work in progress. Okay. But with the goal of saying, I want these 3 audiences to feel foolish for considering working with somebody else regardless of price. And with the framework that I've showed you guys and the questions that I've led you through, you can do that for your own business. Make sense? Okay, so the question I would ask you guys is, how can I help? Our goal, the reason we exist as Freed by Real Estate is twofold. One is to create generational wealth, and the second is to maintain family harmony. You heard Ted mention that I have 12 family members that work full-time in the business. We're all invested in these deals. Why do I do that? Working with family is hard. It's the highest standard of responsibility I have as a father, to be, not just a good businessman, but to shepherd my children well in the process. And so I have to take so much extra care in teaching them how to do what they do and the why behind it. Because if I don't, then it's going to risk our relationship, and Thanksgiving is going to be awkward, right? And I don't want that. Secondly, is they're going to get all this pile of stuff at some point when I'm gone. I'm not going to be here much longer. I hope for a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm halfway there, okay, or more. And so there will be a legacy that I leave. Legacy is not optional. So I want to intentionally bring my family into the business so that they can learn and understand exactly what it is they're inheriting, but also how to then take what they get and not allow it to tear the family apart, become entitled brats, trust fund babies, but that they have worked hard to help build it so that they can continue to have it grow. Does that make sense? And so for us, our passion is to help other families do the same. Do we accept investments from other people who are, single individuals? Of course we do. But our heart, our passion, our drive is to help families do what we're doing, to set up this generational wealth and to teach their children how to be good stewards of it. So when their transition happens, there's this harmony that can continue on. We want to fight this 3 generations or shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. That's a real thing, you guys. First generation buys it, second generation builds it, third generation sells it. What's the 4th generation do? Buys it, starts over. Because the 3rd generation sold it. The grandkids say, I don't want anything to do with that. That's the biggest tragedy that I think in our business that I'm trying to right is so many of the assets we buy, you guys, the owners have family. And we ask 100% of these guys, 100%, is there somebody in your family that could be blessed by owning this asset? And when they say no, it's heartbreaking to me. I'm not saying everybody should keep assets forever, but there's a lot of them that can and should and don't. And so we're trying to break that cycle. So if, for any of the things that you see up here, if that any of that resonates with you, we have a weekly happy hour. We have a family meetup. We've got some coaching and a mastermind and those sorts of things. We'd love to have you guys participate any way we can, or any way you can. You can invest alongside us. We have a hard money lending business. You can borrow money from us. Whatever it is that helps you facilitate what it is you're trying to do, we'd love to help. So I'll open it up to you guys. I've been blabbering a lot, so questions or comments, thoughts?
Oh, somebody's got some questions out here, like working with family, something about the steps. Raise your hand, I'll bring the mic over to you.
Hi, thank you for coming tonight and sharing your knowledge with us. My name is Rachel Harmon. My question is not really about your presentation, but you gave so many ideas for books to list or books to read, and I am just gathering this huge list from other REIAs that I've been to. How do you get through all these books? There's so much information out there. I mean, I feel like I could be reading 24 hours a day. How do you kind of manage that?
That's a great question. So podcasts obviously are one of my favorites. Audible is one of my best friends. I listen to everything on 1.5 speed or two times speed. If I have a physical book, I will read the trick to reading a book is, in my view, read the first sentence and the last sentence of each paragraph, and you can read the whole book in 200 pages in an afternoon, and you'll get the Cliff's Notes version of it. And if there's something that resonates with you, you can always go back and pick it up. But I consume the content really trying to pick up the highlights, listening at a faster speed, or cheating and reading the first sentence and last sentence of each paragraph. But it's a great question.
1.5 times on Amazon.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that works out really well.
I walk into the office with my books playing and everybody looking at me like, how do you listen to that? I'm like, your brain it catches it. It just takes a second to get used to it. What else?
Okay, best advice to a newer investor. How do you simplify things? You've been in it for a year, but then also to get it to the next level.
I hate to oversimplify the answer to say start with the framework, but now I've got 10 businesses that I'm currently, most of them are holding companies, not just a couple of operating businesses, okay? There's a difference between an operating business and a holding company in terms of work. But an operating business, or either one, doesn't matter, but for an operating business in particular, to sit down and just write out this framework and to just be aware that there's every business has 7 different roles, and underneath each of those roles there's probably other jobs, and to just get it laid out in front of you, and I tend to put my name in every box when I start, and then systematically count the little wins of I found somebody to replace me in this, and that who could be a technology, the who could be an outsourced third party, the who could be an employee. It doesn't matter. But the simplification to me is to first get everything out on a piece of paper and then to start systematically working through. The interesting thing about that question is it's a both and answer, right? It simplifies, but then it also empowers you to scale because now you've got everything laid out. Most people, a good friend of mine, business partner, Alex is in the crowd. He's a former Marine, a captain in the Marines, great guy. And he always says, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And I like that. So to start with, we got to go slower, which I hate. Please.
So a newer investor, there are costs involved with hiring.
Absolutely.
So the question is there's a fear of you pay X amount for your services to do what you need to do. So what would you tell newer investors? Get a line of credit? Like, you know, how do you jump that hurdle where you know it's going to work? I'd rather go to the casinos and play poker and maybe get my chances.
Right.
So
Yeah. So one of the maybe it's a twisted way that I look at it, but one of the ways I look at it is, let's say I've laid everything out in the framework and I've identified the jobs that I just don't want to do, and I'm looking for somebody to do that. Yes, let's say they need 60 grand a year, okay? I'm not spending $60,000 to get this person. I'm gonna give them 1 month to prove themselves. So I'm spending 1/12 of $60,000. And that's the emotional decision that I'm making. So I try to make the decisions, I try to chunk those decisions into a more realistic, shorter time frame that are less expensive and less risky. It's still money. And if you don't have any capital, I wouldn't be starting a business, because it takes some capital. It does. And if you can reach into a line of credit, or you have access to savings, maybe, right? I'm not gonna give you advice on how much to take and how big to go, because I don't know your business. But if it's gonna be investing in somebody else, I tend to chunk it into, it's a 1 month hire. And if they work out, and by working out, they've paid for themselves and made me money. I won't hire somebody just to take a job off my plate, especially early on. It's gotta be revenue producing. And I'll do the menial crap jobs until I can afford overhead, which is actually an important point. So you only want to hire early on in a business. You're only going to want to hire people who are producing, because adding overhead just adds stress. But if you hire a salesperson who can go out and sell something and they get paid when they sell, then there's no cost associated with that person unless there's a sale associated with it. That's called a cost of goods sold. I don't want to get into the weeds on it, but anything you can keep above the line and have as a cost of goods sold early on, that's better. Later you'll have overhead that you can't get away from, but you start with those baby steps. We can talk offline too, because there's more to it, but what else?
Yeah, I got a quick question for you. Let's talk about a little bit about the fun side of what you've been doing lately. Let's talk about the book, how that came to fruition. How did you write a book with Chris Voss? How did this TV show go? I mean, like, give us a little details on all this.
Yeah, so I am a super consumer of books and different things. And Chris Voss, I picked up his book, Never Split the Difference. I don't know when it was, right when it came out. Somebody posted on Facebook and said, here's my new favorite book. And I just ordered it because it was a book on negotiation. And I'm always trying to sharpen the sword and get better at what I do. And the paradigm shift in me was so profound that I just started to consume all of the content, because it was not, I had been trained in negotiations on the getting to yes strategy, which is a Harvard professor-led project. And I still like a lot of the things that book teaches, but Chris Voss's book completely flips that on its head. And it's a very different approach, and it really clicked with me. So I started to consume all the content. I've watched every clip on YouTube that exists of Chris, just so I could start practicing it. Signed up for newsletter, helped one of Alex's acquaintances get trained in the Never Split the Difference training. So they knew I was a heavy consumer, and I get an email one day from an agent that's representing Chris and says, hey, he's writing a book. Would you have any interest in submitting a story? Which of course I said yes. And I had no, like, it was more just, I don't know, catharsis maybe, just to get it out and to say thank you and to appreciate what he did. And it turned out that they said, hey, we like what you submitted. I ended up getting a ghostwriter and an editor that they provided. And when I submitted the story, they liked it, so they published it in the book. I'm one of 20 or so other authors, so it's really just a way for me to give back and to share a few stories about how tactical empathy, which sounds utilitarian, has really served me well, and that's what led to the book. And out of that then was, hey, he's doing a TV show called That's Right, and asked if I'd be interviewed on the show, and I was a few weeks ago. So sort of just serendipitous, I guess.
Where can we see this if we want to watch that show?
I don't even know yet, to be honest. I think it's an Amazon show. I don't know. I haven't been given the details. We just filmed it a couple weeks ago. So when I have those details, I'll share them.
So a lot of the questions that are coming up are actually bringing up questions for me. But my main one was I own a lawn and landscape business in Omaha, and I've got a few friends in real estate, and I'm looking to, in my off seasons when we're either pushing snow or pushing revenue for the following year, just trying to kind of expand what I'm doing in the winter. And I'm a guy who likes to put all my eggs in one basket, whether it's my business or a business that I'm starting up or collaborating with somebody on. So my question is if you talked about finding your destination, is there a way to do that besides just trial and error? Because I mean, I've seen that a lot in my business, and I've learned from a lot of mentors in my business. But I'm just curious, like, what's an easier route to finding your destination than trial and error?
Anybody want to take this?
Wait, you need a mic.
So he and his business partner, how old were you when you started your business?
15, but we started our LLC in 2021.
And
15, but we started our LLC in 2021 when we were 18.
Right. So he's like a Riley Eccles, a young 17-year-old that flips houses.
Right.
So these guys they didn't go to college because they realized investing was like they're making it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's at the point of what's next.
Right.
And
yeah.
it's super cool to see. Like, they do lawn and landscaping, and like they're 21, 19, and they are flourishing. So it's super cool.
It's incredible.
Right.
It's
so
incredible,
it's like
yeah.
props to that question is what's next?
Yeah.
I know you had said you need capital to start a business, and I feel like lawn and landscape may be one of the exceptions, just because I'm at a point now where I have the capital to get into something else like real estate, and that's why I'm just curious to learn more on just the entire subject, and so that's why I came out tonight.
Yeah, for sure. There was a gentleman that raised his hand. I'm curious if he had a thought to share that would be additive.
Hold up. I'm running as fast as I can.
So like I'm as old as you are young. I've probably got fewer years left than you were when you started your landscape business. But for me, it's thinking back, it's passion. I mean, you got to get up and you got to do something every day. So think about what you're passionate about, what you enjoy doing, because you're going to be doing it for a long time. Absolutely. And one of the guys who had a great career that I admire the most was my wife's father, and he said he got up every day and he did what he loved. They happened to pay him for it, but he got up and he did what he loved. So think about that when you're thinking about where to spend your capital and what to do. Obviously, you're an entrepreneur, so like the world is your oyster at this point.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
I would echo that for sure. I think the thought that comes to my head is maybe counter to what you're hoping to hear, because so many of us entrepreneurs are eager to start the next thing. And I suffer from the same affliction. So it's a kindred spirit that's sharing this with you. Right. And it sort of goes against this cliche of to create wealth, you have to diversify. Where I agree with that, I think it's a timing issue. Where most of the very successful people that I know don't start by diversifying. They start by going deep in one area and just owning it, so that all of their clients feel foolish for considering anyone else. Once you own that space, you're going to have so much cash that you're going to not know what to do with it. And if you're at a place where you have so much cash you don't know what to do with, then you can start to think about diversifying and trying something else. If you don't, my advice would be don't do anything else. Right. Say no, because that's one of the most powerful words. It's hard to say. But if you can say it and say, I'm going to go deeper and I'm going to max this out, it will create a foundation or a platform that will be very hard to shake. What most entrepreneurs struggle with is they'll start something new, they'll get it going and spin this plate, and they'll realize, oh crap, this plate's about ready to crash. And so they put at risk that which is got them to that point instead of really stabilizing it first. So I don't want to discourage you. I
Right.
just would think to me, it's more of a timing thing.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
I actually want to add to that. I would consider having you ask yourself what energizes and excites you to really distill down on what you're really good at. And once you're there and you find your purpose on where you're going next, I would recommend, and I think in one of the slides where Mike had, I don't remember the quote, but just think about who do you want to take that advice from, and who do you want to maybe have somebody take you under your wing to go to the next step.
That's great. Yeah, because we're all at different levels, right? I think what you're saying, honey, is if there's somebody that you aspire to be like, that might be a good next step. Exactly. If it's absolutely. All of us, it's sometimes uncomfortable, but all of us should put ourselves in a room where everyone else in the room is smarter than us. And we can say, okay, toss me a rope and let me climb a little bit, right? Because that's what we all are trying to do, instead of, settling into a groove.
First of all, for him, we're all looking for contractors, so I would throw your cards on the tables. I don't know who you are, never met you, but if your card's on the table, I'm going to pick it up and I'll remember that later. So,
I got his number, Jason. I've used him.
yeah, if you want to dive deep into it, this is where it's at. So,
Thank you for that.
You talked about real estate agents and giving them parameters. Do you work with more than one, or one specific? How do you work that frame?
Yeah, good question. So we have two programs that we offer agents. One is on the multifamily side, we call it the Evergreen Money Tree, which is for brokers. And that's for any broker that fits the criteria and wants to join that program. On the single family side, we have the Perfect Buyer program, and we work with multiple agents on that as well. So it's not one, it's here's who we are and what we're about.
Okay.
And if it resonates with you, it'll attract the people that we want. And I'll be honest with you, if there's 20 people that it resonates with, there's probably 2 that are doing deals with us, and the rest,
Right.
get busy or have other priorities, which is fine.
Yep.
But we haven't picked anyone exclusively.
Okay. And then you say you mostly do BRRRRs. How's that been the last year and a half?
On the single family side, almost non-existent.
Okay.
We haven't bought a single family. Well, we just started to buy some again, but for a couple of years, in 19 and 20, and before we started to hold 18, we were buying 40 and 50 single families a year.
Right.
And now it's, I don't know, Luke, how many have we bought? 2 this year? I don't know. There just aren't. For us, if it's going to be we aren't flipping, so we're buying and holding.
Right.
And for us, we have to have debt service coverage. We have to have cash flow in order to keep it.
Right.
And so we're just not, with the interest rates being as high and the values being so high, we can't get the rents high enough.
Yep.
So we haven't bought very many. On the multifamily side, we feel like we're seeing this first domino tip, and we're starting to get some traction on buying some of the multifamily stuff, where just half a basis point down in rate was kind of baked into the rates that we saw a couple months ago. And so we've been leaning into those more. The sellers are maybe getting tired and saying this has to trade at some point.
Right.
And so they're a little more agreeable to negotiate, but there's no windfall of deals right now.
Do you see residential picking up in the near future?
Gosh, so I listen to so much different content, you guys, that there's so many competing voices. I don't know what to believe. In my own experience, I don't see, as constrained as we are on inventory and how unaffordable prices are, combined with this lock-in effect, I don't see single-family trading at the volume that it did until rates come down and people can say, okay, I can psychologically swallow 5 points instead of I'm locked at 2.5 or 3. That's, to me, I think the biggest hindrance to that starting to trade. There's still distress. There's still challenges with people get in trouble. So on the distress side, there has been some forbearance and some things that the government has stepped in to try to prevent foreclosures and things. We're starting to see that break loose a little bit, but not near like it was 4 years ago. So the short answer is I hope it does, but I don't have any reason to believe why it will.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you think that wholesaling becoming legal has affected getting the good deals? Because a lot of us investors got a lot of our properties through wholesalers, and now we're really dependent on either our own marketing or getting stuff, right off of the MLS. Was that an avenue for you guys?
It's interesting because I think the number of people wholesaling have declined. So the barrier got higher to entry, and the complexity was increased, and so just fewer people were doing it.
There'd be a point where you ask who are the wholesalers in the room, and there'd be 20 people in the room with their hands up, and they're like, and they would come up and like, I got this lead, and I got this lead. Now you're scared.
Yeah, yeah. We have wholesaled hundreds of properties over the years, and it was a core part of our business to build cash, but we haven't wholesaled a deal in years now.
Yeah, it's tough.
It is.
Any other questions? Oh, Dennis. Okay. And you, feel free to go up there right behind him too.
Yeah. So, well, I was saying myself in there. I like all of your stuff was so good today. Just saying. I know everybody did a lot of stuff today. One of the things that really did resonate with me, though, is the family part. You built a business, and it's only your family is involved. So I have 2 questions. How? And the second one is, did everybody have money at the beginning? And it was just like, hey, put all the money together. Because I would think that everybody started at some point, and it probably was that not everyone had capital to invest in it. Or I don't know how you structured it, but that's just my assumption.
Yeah, great question. So the first question is, how did the family get involved? I think it's totally by God's grace. It hasn't been without its challenges. I mean, my oldest son, Luke, was the first one to join the business. And it was after, he came to me when he was 19. He's at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln, and said, I'm done doing school. I want to join the business. And I was like, there's no way, dude. Like, you're not going to quit. And if you do come and work in the business, I'm going to have you do trash outs. You're going to do driving for dollars, the worst jobs I can give you, because I don't want you to quit. But I have to tell you, this Chris Voss deserves a lot of credit. I was just practicing and learning the Never Split the Difference tools, which are mirroring, labeling, summarizing, and some of those things. And it was a magical conversation, because it allowed me to express understanding to Luke, and he gave me a that's right moment. And it was from that point on we collaborated. I was able to set aside what I wanted and was wed to, and he was able to set aside what he was wed to, and we started to work together on how do we solve this. And he ended up joining the family business. Obviously he's been here 5 years, and or going on 5, I lose track of time. And I don't know what his balance sheet looks like, but he's got 6 figures in passive income and has no college debt. So as a father, how else do you, it's a big deal. That's Luke.
Luke, do you want to say anything to that?
That's right.
So the once Luke jumped in, then his older sister and her husband, and then now Paul, his younger brother, and Lucy's dad and sister and brother-in-law, and there's several people that just have, as we've grown, we've really just tried to, I don't know, just be humble and be good stewards, and to come alongside and say, hey, if you're trying to improve your financial situation, you're not going to be able to do it working for somebody else. Like, you can make money, but you can't create wealth. And if you want to set your family up, you've got to find a way to buy assets. You've got to find a way to invest. And so the second question is the money. We use private lending, and that is the biggest blessing to our family, is we're buying these assets without our own money, and we were giving returns to friends and family for the cash to buy and the cash to refi or rehab, and then we'd refi out of it, recycle that money, and we could turn $150,000 3 or 4 times a year, and every time we'd do a refi, we were refreshing that and going to the next deal. So we were using other people's money the whole time. The kids didn't have any money. Now, Luke's in a much different spot, but it was through the use of other people's money, and that's possible for all of you guys. You all know somebody that has capital, and they're looking for a return. Now that the rates have dropped, the CDs and interest-bearing accounts at the bank are less desirable. Treasuries are less desirable. The stock market is still, a possibility, but more volatile. And so people are looking for a safe place to invest, and if it's tied to real estate, it's pretty secure. So if you have questions about private lending, we can certainly help you with that. Sorry to make you wait.
You're good. So you have like 400, you said, that you're holding just between you and the family, and then 1,000 you said, or 1,000 plus with investors. I've heard Grant Cardone offer some advice. I don't know how I feel about it. I figure you'd probably be a good person to ask. For someone starting new, maybe they're looking to get into multifamily or something like that. How do you feel about starting with investors and going in with experienced investors and using that as a method to learn, as opposed to trying to go in by yourself, do things that way?
Yeah, I think, excuse me, that's a great question. It comes down to your appetite for work. Because if you have ability to contribute time and effort, then going on your own isn't necessarily bad. If you don't have the time or the will to do that, riding the coattails of somebody who is successful is definitely the way to go. The trade-off is, if you go with an investor or you go with a syndicator, somebody you're investing with, you have to have capital.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have capital, you have to be able to go find capital. Or find a deal. There are ways to get involved. You could be a bird dog and source a deal, or you could source capital and participate in the deal that way without money, but you got to bring value. If you're going to do it on your own, then you can use private lending. You don't need the money. You can use other people's money. But you got to be able to source deals, and you got to be able to perform on whatever the business plan is. So if it's going to be value add, meaning you're buying below market and forcing appreciation, you better know how to do rehab, and you better know how to sell it or manage it when it's a rental. So it's sort of, what is your skill set and what is your past experience lend itself to, and that's the route I would go.
Thank you. I appreciate the answer. That's good.
You bet.
We just don't get a lot of clapping after people ask questions. It's kind of fun. Any other questions? Take the mic, get at least one or two good ones left in the room here. No? Man, kicked ass today. It was awesome. My key word that I misunderstood you say tonight was framework, kind of like for framework.
Framework.
This is the framework. Okay, so how's it going to work tonight with the book signings before I finish up?
So I've got 25 books, and it'll just be first come, first serve, I guess. Whoever wants to come over, I'll sign your book. Again, my ask is the $20 that you would have sent to Amazon, gift it to somebody that's in need or a passion that you have. Maybe pay for somebody's coffee in the line behind you tomorrow or something.
So maybe, are you on social media?
I am. Did you guys get my information? I put my cell phone and my email.
We can put it back up there. How about this? When they, as a thank you for the book, we ask them to take a picture of how they're giving back and then tag you on your social media account.
I would love that.
Can we do that?
That'd be great.
That way he knows, and it'll make you feel good.
That would be nice. I don't need to know it, but it would feel good if you did.
Can you tell us what role your wife plays in the business? Because she knew all the numbers.
Yeah.
Because I know what my wife does in my business, so.
She is what Alex would call the queen of the Midwest. She's the 10-pound brain in the office. She's worked for 10 years in corporate, in HR, and back office, and she's got an MBA. So she's our CFO, and she makes sure that all the money that we bring in gets paid out to all the right people, and that we have money left to pay the bills, and use wisely. Yeah. So she is all of the numbers on the backside.
Awesome.
And keeps everybody together for sure.
Awesome. I love hearing about the family. Love hearing about everything you're doing. And if you want to know more about his backstory besides what's on the book, definitely listen to we had a 2-hour podcast, episode 128, I believe it was, on OmahaREIA Radio. Take a listen, and if you enjoy it, share it with somebody else that would enjoy it, because we really dug deep into you, and that was a fun interview.
I sure enjoyed it.
Give him a big round of applause. Awesome. Okay, just to kind of wrap up, nice part is I did some of this, but there is a book giveaway that's going to happen in the back. JM Real Estate Capital brings us a book every time. If you want to get in that drawing, drop your card in there. We'll do it here in about 2 minutes. Or you can just write your name on a card. Or if you want Ram to come around, raise your hand up so he can see it. He'll come around with the bucket and grab the card too, so that way he can get your information there. But open mic, is there anything that you guys are looking for in your business, a shout out you want to give to another member? Anything that this group can do to help you out or your business grow? We already know we have somebody looking to do some landscaping here. I see Hal getting up. He's doing the slow trot.
All right, guys.
You love being on the mic, Hal.
Yeah. Most of you know I've been a flipper for several years. Flipping's not really doing the numbers I like, so I've transitioned to contracting. Lately, I've been working on a high-end renovation. Going to be wrapping it up probably in about 30 days or so. The owners have allowed me to hold an open house for anybody that's interested in seeing what a higher-end renovation looks like, and even sharing some of the numbers and the costs of the products. If anybody's interested, keep an eye out. Working with Mo, she's helping me put together a digital flyer that I'll share on the REIA pages.
Thanks. Hal's one of the trustworthy ones, so he'll take good care of you. So thank you, Hal. Appreciate it, man. Any other? Yeah, Mo.
Hi, I'm Mo Albers with Realty One Group Sterling. How are you? Do I know you? Real quick, I just want to give a shout out to Hal with City Lights. Thank you very much for your high-end renovation. You've been at it, I think, about a year now. That's always part of it, right? The permits and so on. So yeah, we're gonna conduct an open house and celebrate Hal and also the other contractors that he has recruited. One of the other ones is Johnny Albers Flooring. So thank you very much for the 75 steps. I think that's right, or close to it. I just quickly wanted to mention, if you're an investor and you're looking for real estate, I've got everything from $80,000 on up to $1.75 million available on the market. Townhomes, multifamilies, single families, Airbnbs. So please come see me. And then if I can, real quick, say hi to Andrew McElmeal. I was hoping he might come up and say a little bit about himself.
No pressure, no pressure.
No pressure. So Andrew is an investor and also a real estate attorney and a great friend.
We all need a real estate attorney in our lives.
Yes, you definitely do. Hello, my name is Andrew McMill. By day, I am a real estate attorney, specifically a real estate litigation attorney. So I do everything from the most basic eviction all the way up into the multi-million-dollar construction disputes, development disputes all throughout Nebraska. My firm is also national, so if you have issues over in Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Texas, California, Florida, I can get you an attorney to get that issue handled. So please do reach out to me if you want to go sue somebody or you are getting sued. Come and talk to me. Thank you.
If any of you guys have ever seen my my Instagram post where I got to do my first eviction, and I was all excited, and I'm taking pictures in court and getting in trouble by the bailiffs. Andrew was doing that eviction for me, and we won. Bree, go ahead.
Hello. My name is Brianna Knott, and I am a property manager alongside Liz Otto at Peterson Bros Realty. We are a third-party full-service management company, and we are a sponsor of the OmahaREIA. We are offering 25% off of management services until the end of the year. I've sprinkled some of our business cards around the table, so feel free to pick one of those up. Just a little bit about us. Liz Otto is the owner of Peterson Bros Realty. So it is female owned, and she has been in the real estate industry for, well, basically her whole life, because her dad was an investor, but she really got into it about 12 years ago. She's very knowledgeable about maintenance issues, as well as the management side. And we are both investors as well, so we know the importance of good property management. I myself have been in the property management industry for about 7 years, and if you have any questions, come up and see me after. That's
Awesome.
it.
And thanks for being a sponsor of the group. Appreciate it very much. Last chance. Anybody else? Okay, so just want to do a thank you to Albert's Flooring for being our event sponsor tonight. Thank you to JM Real Estate for being our drink sponsor tonight. Take advantage of those drinks. We'll be down the hallway after the book signing. Just tell them that you put in a tab on JM Real Estate, and they'll take care of it. It's going to be beers and draws. If there's some left over after first round and we don't get too crazy, maybe there's a second round. We'll see. And with that, best thing you guys can do for us is share our podcast, give OmahaREIA a Google review, or whatever your favorite format is. That means the world to us to help us keep growing. I appreciate you guys so much. If I can be a resource for you guys, please let me know, and we're going to finish up with the drawing in the back. Ram, you want to pull a card out? The bald Vanna White. Okay, Ram, I'm going to bring it up.